Hello everyone, welcome to When at Work Podcast Jeopardy. You're with the host Julian Leahy, and I'm also joined by Chief Henry Harrigan in the soundproof booth. Today's guest is Victoria Pelletier, and some of the things we're going to talk about are resilience, overcoming adversity, and also what people get wrong with personal brand. Let's meet Victoria now. Hello Victoria.
Hello, happy to be here.
Awesome. I hope you find those topics okay. I did have a look through your bio.
Yeah, let's hope I remember lots from school.
Yes, and let's hope you remember some things about Canada, where you're originally from. And I must say, you've got the edge on me being born in Canada, but it doesn't matter. It's all for fun. All right, Victoria, as the guest, you can kick things off. Which category and for what amount?
Canada culture for 300.
What is the name of the leaf on the Canadian flag?
The maple. Oh, what is the maple leaf?
You're very good. These questions should actually say that, and you are 100% correct. So let's put your score. All right, I'm going to go for Canada geography. I better stick to 100. Canada is the biggest country in the world. Now, let me see. Canada would have to be. It's not as big as Australia. Probably not as big as the United States. Not as big as Russia. I'm going to go with fifth. Second. Oh my God, is it really huge?
It's massive.
Wow, I am quite ignorant. All right, so let's take some off there. And what's the biggest? Is Russia the biggest?
Russia.
Okay, excellent. All right, your turn, Victoria.
Canada facts for 100.
Canada facts for 100. What country does Canada share the longest border with?
Okay, well, that one's quite easy. The United States.
These are almost an insult for someone of your pedigree, Victoria.
That one, yeah, very easy. Yeah.
All right, let's go for Canada culture. And the only thing I know about Canada culture is those disgusting chips with cheese all over them. I'm going to go for 200 Canada culture.
By the way, that's my husband's absolute.
Oh, that's your husband's fault. Okay.
No, yeah, poutine, it's called. Yeah.
Poutine, yeah, okay. It sounds Spanish in the wrong way. All right, name 3 Canadian cities that hosted Olympic Games. 2, sorry, did I say 3?
Yeah.
Oh, silly.
You tried 3, but yeah.
Name 2 Canadian cities. It's your turn, isn't it?
No, it's yours.
Oh, it's my turn.
Are we following the rules in that because I got it correct? I get to.
Actually, it alternates, I believe. Look, I may be wrong on this one. You're a Canadian and I'm Australian. We don't really have Jeopardy that much, but I do believe we alternate.
Okay, yeah. So then don't.
Your turn.
Oh, it's mine. Okay, so
is it you did the last one?
Yeah.
Aren't I a great host, Victoria? It's smooth as sandpaper on this show. All right, so name 2 Canadian cities that hosted Olympic Games. I'm going to say Montreal and I'll go for Toronto. It's got to be. All right, let's have a look. Oh, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary. So the question actually gives you 3 answers. Now, what did I say? Montreal and I didn't say Calgary. I got that wrong, didn't I?
Yeah, you said Toronto.
Okay, all right. Okay, you're up, Victoria.
Okay, Canada random for 200.
Canada random for 200. What forms about 40% of Canada's area?
Forest.
Forest, well done. You really do know your stuff. All right. Okay, I'm going to go for Canada 400. Got to risk it. How many oceans touch Canada? Okay, now you've got kind of the one up the top there. Is that called the where they have that fishing show? What's that called? The Bering Strait? I don't know. Oh, look, I'm going to go with 2. Do you know this one?
I believe it's 2.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look. 3. Okay, so we've got Atlantic, Pacific, and the Arctic. These questions could actually be wrong, but
no, I think that's right. I was debating whether to the north they hit one or not.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, you're up, Victoria.
I will do Canada culture for 400.
Canada culture for 400. Who is the official head of the country? The very
Prime Minister.
handsome.
The
Oh,
Prime Minister.
okay, yes.
Oh, do I have to give his name?
I
Like,
think
shoot out?
no, I think you're right. It's they're asking for the title, aren't they? What?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I should have thought about that.
well,
Yes.
we've got the
That's
same thing down here, but it's probably time to get rid of that. All right. Um, the increasingly irrelevant King Charles. Okay, I'm going to go for Canada. No, not geography. I'm going to go for Canada Facts 200. What are Canada's two official languages? English and French. Okay. That one was easy. Even I can get that one. Okay, why isn't that going back? All right, your turn.
How about Canada for 500?
Canada for 500. What is Canada's national animal?
The beaver.
Is that right? I did not know that. Excellent. So you got lots. Anyway, we won't do any jokes about that. All right. I'm going to go for Canada Geography 200. Which city is the biggest in terms of population? Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. Look, I'm going to go for. It's either Toronto or Ontario. I'll go for Toronto. Okay, great.
Yes, my hometown.
There you go. Pretty fun place from all accounts. Okay, your turn.
I will go for Canada Facts for 300.
Canada Facts for 300. What do the colours of the flag symbolise?
What do they symbolize? Ooh, I don't. Oh, what do they symbolize? I don't know. Freedom and I don't know. I know they're red and white, but I don't know. I don't recall what they symbolize. I don't know. I don't know. The maple leaf and freedom. That's not it. But that's what I'll say.
All right. are you going to give an answer, or I don't know?
I don't know.
Okay, that means I can jump in. I don't know either, but I'm going to go off the leaf clue and say it's the colour of the leaves in this particular season. Oh, totally wrong. All right. Now, what happens there? We're both wrong. So let's just call it evens on that one.
Okay.
All right. And now it's my turn. All right. Is that correct? Canada culture for 100. What is the national anthem called? No idea. Look, I just don't know that one.
And
No.
I get to jump in.
Yes, you do. Of course you do.
Oh, Canada.
Oh, it's called. I thought you were saying, is that the one I need to know? Oh, Canada, correct. Well done. You are doing great. All right, your turn, Victoria.
Oh, Canada culture for 500.
Canada culture for 500. Who is Justin Trudeau?
He is the Prime Minister.
The very groovy and handsome Prime Minister.
And now, newly single. They just announced that they're getting divorced.
Oh, okay. I wonder if he's been a naughty boy.
I think his wife was actually.
Oh, really? Okay. Takes two to
So
tango.
so are the rumors, anyways.
Anyway, people, it happens. It's life. All right. My turn, I believe. All right. Canada for 300. What types of bear lives in Canada? Okay, what type? So I'll go for brown and black bears. Oh, they've got polar bears? Is that correct, Victoria?
Yes, they do.
That's pretty terrifying. People always go on about Australia's scary animals. I think that's got us beat. Okay, I'm going backwards. Great. Okay, you're up.
Canada random for 300.
Canada random 300. What do we call the Indigenous people of Canada?
well, native Canadians, but there's many different.
There's a few, isn't there? I'll
Yeah,
if you want to
Métis,
rattle off a
yeah,
couple, yeah, and
Métis, the Cherokee. Like there's a bunch of different. So normally we would say Indigenous peoples, but if not that, then I would say Native Canadians.
do they go by First Nations at all in Canada?
Yes, they do go by First Nations as well.
All right, I'll accept any of those. Inuits, did you say that one? You
Did not say
did
that
not.
one.
Okay, all right.
It's typically in the very north, and so that would. So I'm surprised they would say
Yeah,
that first.
it's a terrible question. We'll have words with the question person. All right. That's my turn now? All right. Canada geography. No, I don't know anything about that. Okay. Canada random. Hopefully they ask me about Mike Myers or something. What are Canada's two national sports? Oh, well, look, I'm going to have to say ice hockey and what else do they play? Do they play rugby? Ice hockey and I'm going to go ice hockey. There's something weird like that, curling or something. I'll go ice hockey and rugby. I really don't know. Oh, lacrosse. Is that the French people play lacrosse?
Well, it's played in many places. I never played it.
Yeah.
Although, you know what? I actually would have said curling as well.
They do that? Okay.
Yes, lots.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm just going to go backwards again. All right. So negative 700. I could break a record the wrong way. Victoria, you're up.
How about Canada facts for 400?
Canada facts for 400. Which province has the most French-speaking people?
Quebec.
Quebec, correct. Well done.
Yeah. Happen to be married to one.
Doing great, Victoria. If you get a really good score, you might qualify for the championship round, which I haven't even created yet. Okay, I'm going to go for Canada random 400. Can you name the famous Canadian-born actor who starred in movies Mask, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, 23 Men on the Moon? That's for 400. That is the easiest question I've ever heard. That is Jim Carrey. Who is Jim Carrey? Okay, great.
Very good.
Needed that. And the only other one I know is Mike Myers. What about like John Candy? Is he Canadian?
He is Canadian.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. All right, you're up there, Victoria.
Martin's Canadian. There's lots of them, right?
Yeah, I bet there is.
Canada facts for 500.
Canada facts for 500. What water area forms the natural border between Canada and the United States?
The Great Lakes.
The Great Lakes. Correct. Is that no? What's the river where the Niagara? Is it called the Niagara River?
Well, not where Niagara Falls is.
Yeah. Is that what river is that?
I
or is it?
Don't know. I don't.
Okay. It might not even be. It might be one of the lakes.
Yeah, could be.
Okay. That was you. Now my turn. Canada culture 100. What colours are on the Canadian flag? Red and white. If I can get back to 0, I'll be happy. You're up, Victoria.
Let's go for Canada random for 500.
Oh, going for the big one. What city is the highest Canadian building in?
Toronto.
Toronto, well done. The CN Tower, half a kilometre. That's quite huge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll go for Canada geography 300. What is the capital of Canada? Actually, this one trips me up. Is it Toronto or is it? It's like maybe it's Ontario. I always get this one good. I'm gonna go Ontario. Sorry, I'm so stupid. All right, Ottawa. I knew it was a trick one. I knew it was something like that.
Ottawa, yes, which is Ontario is the province. So both Toronto and Ottawa are there. Both my children are currently living in Ottawa.
You know what? This is what people get wrong about Australia. Do you know what the capital of Australia is?
Sydney.
I knew you would say that. It's actually Canberra.
Oh.
It's similar to Canada. I think it's more like the political centre, but nobody really lives there. Is that right?
Yeah, it's both my kids are there. My older one went for school and said it's boring and wants to move back to Toronto.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, now that was you, wasn't it?
It's me. I'm horrible at geography, but I will take it for 400.
400. How many territories does Canada have?
Territories. Two.
Two? Three. Oh, unfortunately. You're still going very well. Okay, Canada culture for... I need 500 points. I'll go for Canada geography 500. How... Haven't we done this one? Oh, no, that was territories. How many provinces does Canada have? So we've got that... so Montreal, Quebec. So Montreal is part of Quebec.
Yeah.
So
Quebec and Ontario are two.
Oh, you just gave me... Okay, you've given me a clue there. All right, I'm going to go with 2. 10.
Oh,
So
long, wide, expansive.
are
Yes,
they like
yes.
states, are they? Is a province a state? Ah,
right.
okay. All right. Yep. I really have no idea what I'm doing. All right, I'll go backwards. Okay, you're up for 200 Canada
Right.
culture. Name of the famous Canadian singer who sang the song Baby in 2010.
The song, baby.
Canadian singer, there's been a few of those as well.
The famous who sang the song, baby. That young kid.
Of course!
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. You know what? It's because everyone's disowned him as a Canadian that you couldn't remember. Justin Bieber, well done. That's a great effort. 1,900 points. And right now, it is time for Final Jeopardy. So when you see the question, enter your answer in the chat plus wager amount, how much you want to risk. And you can either risk it all, risk half, risk none, whatever you want to do. And the category is coming up in a moment. Art history.
Okay.
And we're going to see the question. This renowned Italian artist, considered a master of the High Renaissance, created works such as The Last Supper and Mona Lisa.
Okay.
Okay, let's take a look. Da Vinci for 300. Is that 300?
Correct.
My eyesight is terrible. Okay, that is the correct answer. So you have got another 300 points. So was it 2,200? Does that sound right?
What was I? 1,900? Yeah, 2,200.
Okay. You can protest. Launch a protest if you're not happy. All right, wonderful. That's great. Congratulations on that. Hopefully you had some fun. And now we're going to talk about some interesting stuff that you've got going on, Victoria. So tell us a little bit about your journey. I think is a good place to start.
Sure. I describe myself as a career-long, really corporate executive in the B2B or professional services world. Although I didn't follow the path I thought from childhood, which was to be a lawyer. While I was in university, I worked in a bank and got promoted up through the ranks and then got recruited out. And after thinking I was going to take a year off before law school and never went to law school, I loved the business world. Became an executive at a very early age. I was just barely 24. Became the chief operating officer for a large outsourcing organization. And that began that foray into that professional services world and have stayed there ever since.
How did that happen so quickly? You must have had some talent. Who just spotted you and said, oh my goodness, Victoria is an absolute gun? And who gave you your first real kind of push?
Well, I started working, Julian, actually at age 11 in a hair salon. By 14 was my first leadership role as the assistant manager of a shoe store. And then in the banking environment that I worked at while I was in university, I got promoted within 6 months into a leadership role there. And so I believe a lot has to do with my drive, my why. I had a number of years of experience already in the work world before that. So although I was quite young, but I learned a lot. I took a lot of the different courses that the bank offered. I'm very clear on things that have contributed to my success, and performing has been one of them. So that's been honing my skills, but being really clear around how success is measured within an organization and delivering exceptionally well. I also think a lot around personal brand has been a big part of that. And then networking and connecting with the right people. And it was a combination of those things that got me noticed by a recruiter who pulled me out of the banking environment to go and work for a company. Now, I ticked a number of the boxes. I'd been running large scale contact center operations, which is what the world of outsourcing at that point was predominantly. And they had large banking clients, and of which I'd worked for 2 large Canadian banks at that point. And I showed up with exceptional confidence. I'm not a big fan of fake it till you make it, except when it comes to being confident. I think those were the things that helped get me noticed and get that first executive role.
That's interesting, and yes, and tell us a bit. What you understood personal brand early on. What sort of things did you do that you realized, I need to get myself out there? What did you do early on? So was it when you were in banking that you started to realize that?
No, it was actually the step out of banking that first time, when all of a sudden I was in this B2B environment where I all of a sudden had accountability in the role as COO and general manager for that business. I had every functional area of the organization except for finance reporting to me. So it was a big stretch role for me. I'd come from running exclusively operations to, that was a big, big part of that role, but leading sales and marketing efforts and responding to a request for a proposal from a client and trying to understand what was going to differentiate us besides price alone. And so being known as so organizational brand identity was a big part of that. But at the end of the day, people do business with people they like and trust and want to do business with. So it was at that point I realized not only did I need to work to formulate a strong brand for our organization, but the individuals who were out there selling and delivering work. So that's where it became conscious. I didn't actually have the vernacular. I didn't call it personal branding at that point. It was more around how we're differentiating ourselves and building presence in the market. And so from there, I then over years began to gain the vocabulary and refer to it as personal brand. And by association, who did we network and engage with? And that's where, and I spent a lot of time, not just on my own brand, but working with my team to develop their brand as well. So being known for being great at delivery, being, trustworthy. In my case, things like being radically candid. And so therefore my clients and my team always knew that I was going to be transparent and authentic with, the communications and therefore the partnership we had.
Yeah, that being radically transparent is a good one, isn't it? It's, admitting that you're wrong as well. And that just comes down. A lot of people feel they just can't admit they've made a mistake, or they want to claim something good that somebody else has done, and it just has a real bad flow-on effect. What do you think people get wrong about personal branding, Victoria?
I think there's this myopic focus by many around purely their subject matter expertise. And so just focusing on that. And I say that myopic because that's only one part of your brand. So I see many people just, putting, content out there consistently related to whatever field. So by the subject matter expertise, it could be the function. So are you a, data scientist? Are you, a medical practitioner, whatever it is. So it's a combination of the function and or the industry that you're known for. And that's it. But the reality is we're whole people who show up, are every day. And so for me, there's 4 elements to your personal brand. The eminence or subject matter expertise is one of those, most definitely. And you can pivot and change over time for all of these areas. The next one is what makes you different from others. So for me, what is my unique value proposition and differentiation is things like my radical candor, and therefore the trust that gets built. The next one is the things that you're passionate about and what do you value. So again, that goes back to unique value proposition. So a way to connect and bond with people are in many instances the things in which you share in common. So for me, as a Canadian, as I was networking, with people while I still lived in Canada, I do a lot less of it now that I live in the US, is I actually play hockey. And so I met many of my clients as we were, with our children who were playing hockey. So there's a common aspect. The other things that I value is a high degree of integrity and ethics. And so that makes me different. I will not trade off and do something unethically for the short-term, gain or benefits within the business. So your subject matter expertise, the things you're passionate or value, what makes you different from others. And the last thing is, what do you want to be known for? The legacy or impact that you want to have. That's where people need to focus. And so where people get it wrong is they only focus on that first piece.
And then let's say that somebody has decided that these are the things that I need to convey. How do you go about conveying those things? How do you get that out there?
Well, I think you need to curate it and formulate it. So the perception is born in the eyes of others, and so although we're not characters that we're forming here, we need to curate the message and how we want and what we want people to know about us. So I think you actually need to be somewhat methodical around it, whether it's worksheets. When I spend time working with people, I send them, like, you need to craft the message around these 4 things and how and you want to be known for and who's your target audience. So get really crystal clear on that. The first, again, is the easiest part of that. I went to school for X or Y and I'm in this industry and I've got X number of years of experience. Okay, that's the easy part.
Boring.
But the next, yeah, but it's completely boring. So where it gets harder is, again, what are your passions? And we're going to have many. I describe myself as a multi-potentialite. I've got a ton of different passions and interests. So, but what connects with others? What do you want to know, particularly when we think from a professional standpoint? What are we going to share with the world? And then also, how do we start to share it? So I think you need to spend time curating that, being really clear on what do you want to be known for across those elements. And again, it can pivot and change over time. I'll tell you, Julian, I had a brand problem early in my 20s. I think because I became an executive at such an early age. I was the youngest by at least 2 decades, and I was the only woman at the executive table. I think I was afraid to be emotional. I was afraid to show vulnerability. So I had this mask all the time. So the things that make me really different around, I have a nickname as the turtle that my best friend gave me. I've got a really tough exterior. I've dealt with a lot of adversity, but I'm actually all marshmallow inside. That didn't show up. So I got a nickname as the Iron Maiden. I learned in my late 20s as a result of being all business all the time. I'm not going to show you that these tough decisions I have to make are really, really difficult for me, and I've got emotions around them. So I had to pivot and change. And so I actually had to lean into things to almost sway in the opposite way for a period of time, so that I could change the brand that was known about me. And actually by doing it, it's now completely innate. What wasn't comfortable about being vulnerable and saying, I don't know what I don't know, and having emotions now comes incredibly natural to me. And so I don't need to, it's just who I am and part of my brand. So I want the audience to know that it can change and evolve over time. Also, what we want from a career perspective, it can change and evolve over time.
Interesting, yeah. And did you find much, it's like in that sort of world, it is kind of a boys' club. And how did you find that you were perceived, because often if a woman is assertive, then they'll sort of say, oh, she's a bit of a bitch or a head kicker or whatever. But if a guy is, it's just like, yeah, what a savage. Did you find much difficulty, or did you just smash your way through and say, here I am?
I've been unapologetically me, but it's come with consequences. And some of the names that you've talked about, I like you actually said a woman's assertive. What I hear is for men, they're assertive; for women, they're aggressive, or they're a bitch, for sure. So I've heard that quite frequently. In fact, recently, as I'm out there interviewing for my next C-suite role, in the final stages with one, the CEO of this company was researching me. We'd worked at one company together, not at the same time. So I found out he was asking around me, and someone said I was really feisty and driven. And I think the person who said that to him intended it as to be negative. Although thankfully for the CEO, he thought it was incredibly positive. And so I'm going to be me, as I said, unapologetically me. And yes, I've just punched through it. That said, what I've chosen to do as a leader in business is, I think with power comes great privilege, and title or hierarchy comes with that privilege. So a big focus of mine, and one of the things I'm exceptionally passionate about, is diversity, equity, and inclusion, and doing more for others. So I've been heavily involved in, women's resource groups, in LGBT resource groups, and supporting others from underrepresented minorities to find their voice, and find them place within the workplace.
A lot of changes happening. What do you see as the future of the workforce? I guess that kicks off from what you were just talking about a little bit.
Yeah, we talked years ago about the future of work. The reality is the future is here now, and I've seen it change dramatically. So the pandemic drove a ton of change in that greater comfort and confidence in the ability for workers to work remotely, greater trust given in our workers. And what we've seen is actually higher productivity generally and satisfaction in workers in doing that. And so I think there's a shift to move back into physical offices, but we're going to see much more of a hybrid environment. What we also saw is this greater focus by employees on what matters most to them, and the hustle hard nation all the time, particularly in North America. I know it's different in other parts of the world, like Europe, who's got a much better balance of work and life and pleasure. And so I think there's more of a focus around that. And also, we know that people usually leave leaders and not companies. And so the focus on a different type of leadership style to much more of a human or heart-centered leader who's focused on the whole person, who shows up authentically, transparently, and builds trust with their teams is much more of a need now, because that's become the demand from employees. And also there's a greater connectedness to values, and working for and with companies that align to an individual's values. Sadly, what I've seen, however, is a horrible shift in the US in particular as a result of a lot of, I don't want to have a political conversation, but what we've seen happen politically and the, rise and change around even things like the, shooting down affirmative action. A lot of LGBT rights, et cetera. So we're seeing some shifts and polarization there, but I still think there's a big tug by employees who want to be much more aligned to a more positive, impact and values.
Being an a-hole has become very popular all of a sudden. Very strange times. All right. Now, what do people do if they want to get in touch with you? So you've got your website, victoria-pelletier.com. And what have you got coming up for us?
So that's the best place for people to search for me, and they can link and connect with me on the various social media platforms from there. What they'll find is I do write a ton of content around the things that I'm passionate about or the business that I'm in. So leadership, culture, diversity, all of those sorts of things. A lot has to do with technology as well. They'll also see, the podcasts and the TV and media that I'm on. And for those who are interested in having me come and be a public speaker on a variety of the topics that I've shared here, they can listen to samples and book me through there.
Fantastic. Victoria is a force to be reckoned with. Thanks for coming on to the show, Victoria.
Thanks for having me, Julian.
Wonderful. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.